This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about The Eyes of Wakanda, Episode 2, Legends and Lies.
How many good men have I recruited to fight for justice, only to lead them to their end?
Achilles, we joined you because you showed us there are some causes worth dying for.
This is no cause. This was supposed to be a legend, Memnon, to inspire generations to come. Instead, it's just a story of Greek bodies, piled higher now than that accursed wall.
Legends are lies, my friend. Tales told by those who never did to those who never will. What we do here is not done for their benefit. We fight for home.
I have never met a warrior more devoted to a home he was not born to.
Welcome back, fellow Defenders, to the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're about to get into episode 2 of Eyes of Wakanda, this time entitled Legends and Lies. We head into ancient Greece and the Trojan Wars. Interesting.
Always.
Yes, but, of course, it is rude of me not to introduce myself. I'm one of your hosts, John.
Myrmidons attack. I'm one of your other hosts, Derek. Or I'm your other host, Derek. Yeah, we're still a man down. Chris, unable to join us.
Man down.
Yeah. There are a lot of men down in
Absolutely.
this episode.
A lot of men down.
This is such an iconic tale. The story of Troy, that it's so interesting that they're incorporating Wakanda into that. I love the idea of doing that in this episode. Yeah.
It is interesting, isn't it? Certainly because there was the little teaser trailer of Nolan's Odyssey. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that this is here as well. Yeah. So it's like it'll be all Greek to me by the end of it.
Sorry, Christopher Nolan. Marvel got there first, and they did it in a much shorter
stop copying Nolan.
A much smaller budget. Excellent stuff. Thanks so much for joining us for our chats about Eyes of Wakanda. If you want to email us with your thoughts on any of the episodes, you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to a Facebook group at facebook.com/group/tvpodcastindustries, where you can find our spoiler posts for each of the episodes of the show.
And of course, you can pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast on any good or evil podcast player of your choice. And if you're new to the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast as well. We have tons of stuff over on our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can listen to all our back catalogue, which includes this year another Ryan Coogler production, which was Ironheart. And not only are we looking at Eyes of Wakanda, but we're currently in the world of The Sandman as well.
Which also has a bit of a Greek connection.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
It certainly does. So, I think without further ado, let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion of Legends and Lies, Episode 2 of Eyes of Wakanda. Derek, what are some of the episode details?
Well, executive producers of this show, of course, are Ryan Coogler with Gingy Coogler, Brad Winterbaum, Kevin Feige, Louis D'Esposito, Sevohanian, Kalia King, Todd Harris, Dana Vasquez Eberhardt as well. I did notice on this episode, probably on the first episode as well, that one of the consulting producers for the show is Matthew Chauncey, who was one of the lead producers on What If as well, the animated series. So, all working together. We noticed at the beginning of the episodes, we have the Marvel Animation logo now rather than the Marvel Studios or Marvel TV logo. So specifically at the moment, that's just What If episodes. But we will be seeing Marvel Zombies coming up soon, and obviously it will also include the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as well. But yes, there is definitely going to be some zombies in there too.
Yes, there certainly will.
Looking forward to that.
My favourite.
The show is helmed by director, executive producer Todd Harris, and this episode was written by Marc Bernardin. Marc Bernardin, probably very well known to people who listen to the Smodcast with Kevin Smith, as he's co-host over there for all of the entertainment stuff.
Good stuff.
But Marc Bernardin is a very prolific writer. He's involved in lots and lots of projects. We probably know him not just from the podcast with Kevin Smith, Smith. He was also one of the writers on Star Trek
He
Picard
was,
as well.
That was cool. Yeah, excellent. Excellent stuff. Good to get Marc's take on the world of Wakanda.
It certainly is. It certainly is. This episode was directed by John Fang. He's a storyboard artist and director on lots of DC projects, including Beware the Batman and Superman Batman Public Enemies as well, which we've seen both of.
Interesting. Is John Fang a Trojan horse?
He may well be. He may well be. The only Marvel project he's worked on before was the animated Silver Surfer TV show, which was a very long time ago.
Yeah, that is a while ago now.
That's the one with Norrin Radjon as Silver Surfer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not Shalabal.
No, not the one we saw in the Fantastic Four movie just a couple of weeks ago, which we also have a podcast for over on TV Podcast Industries. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us in their synopsis for episode 2 of Eyes of Wakanda, Legends and Lies?
Sure. In circa 1190 BC, the famous attack on the heavily fortified city of Troy by Odysseus is taking place. Each attack is repulsed by the Trojan forces, even those led by the legendary Achilles and his band of Myrmidons. After another failed attempt to storm Troy, Achilles and his trusted friend and right-hand man Memnon collect their thoughts around the campfire. Despite the deep brotherhood between Achilles and Memnon, Ferris, another member of the Myrmidons, is suspicious of Memnon, who is an outsider. Despite Achilles' trust in Memnon, little does he know that Memnon is in fact a war dog from Wakanda. He is at the siege of Troy to recover a Wakandan pendant from around the neck of Helen of Troy. As the Myrmidons, led by Achilles, attempt another attack on Troy, this time using Odysseus's Trojan horse tactic, they successfully infiltrate the city and let the rest of the Greek army into attack. But the alarm is raised, and in the ensuing battle, Achilles sees Memnon peel away towards the palace as he is surrounded by the Trojan forces and left for dead. Memnon recovers the purple amulet, but is seen by Achilles, who escaped the Trojans. Achilles believes he's been betrayed, and that Memnon is in fact a Trojan spy. They fight one another, and following blow after blow between the two, Memnon cuts his friend's heel. Despite slowing Achilles down, Memnon cannot convince his friend to stand down. As the fight rages, Achilles is killed by Memnon, who places the coins on his friend's eyes for the ferryman. 6 months later, back in Wakanda, Bakai, aka Memnon, tells the leader of the War Dogs, an aged nonny, that the mission to Troy has left its mark, and he feels like a stranger in his own home, as he remembers his deceased friend, Achilles.
I love this concept, and it really comes from the title of the episode. A great job here by Marc Bernardin telling the story, because, you know, it is about the legend of Achilles and the legend of Odysseus and what happened in Troy and what we know and what we don't know. And I love that they've crafted this story around the Wakandan war dog, Memnon, that's here, coming in and befriending Achilles. This is different to the story that you would have read in the Greek legend, and there's a reason for that, you know. And I love that idea that that's what they're playing with here, that, you know, the bits of legend, the idea that the Achilles heel of Achilles is what actually took him down. Well, it's not in this case. The Achilles heel of Achilles is actually his friend Memnon, who gets to kill the greatest warrior of the army because he gets so close to him, you know. And it's accidental, and he didn't want to do it. He had to do it because he's on a different mission here for Wakanda rather than what's going on between the Trojans and the Greeks here, you know. So what a cool way to tell the story.
Oh, definitely. I think it's, you know, I think the best thing for me really on this episode is I just like that kind of exploration of the toll that it takes to be a war dog. In this case, for Memnon.
Yep.
I think it's, you know, beautifully summed up with Bakai at the end with Noni. I know I'm kind of jumping straight to the end here, but in a sense, to me, that kind of encapsulated the pain of what Bakai had to do as a war dog, infiltrating into the Greek army, but ultimately becoming friends with Achilles, being, as you say, his Achilles heel, and trumping that with the loyalty to Wakanda. But then back in Wakanda, there is just that thing that grates at his heart, grates at his gut, grates in his mind about what he's done. And as Nonny says, the real life experience has left that mark because yes, you're experiencing real things. And in this case, his friendship, his brotherhood with Achilles was real, but he had to lie. He had to betray him. And that has made him feel like a stranger in Wakanda at home, because he formed a life outside of there, a companionship, a brotherhood, a community who fought for one another. And I like the little subtlety of, Achilles saying, as they sat down after that failed attempt right at the start, around the campfire, you see Memnon using Wakandan technology to heal the palm of his hand, where he took an arrow to save Achilles. But Achilles is I fight for Greece, and Memnon is I fight for home. And this all comes to play in the final battle, where you sense it is driven by rage from Achilles' side, and calmness from Memnon's side as he's trying to sort of de-escalate the situation, but ultimately is forced into having to kill Achilles. He just can't make him stand down from his rage, and it's only at the end, that there is a rationality about him where he asks why, but it's too late. And he's bled out. So it's actually quite poignant, really.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of beautifully wrapped up in the tale of the Odyssey and the war of Troy, the battle for Troy. And it's all wound up with the Odyssey and Odysseus and the battle for Troy. And I just think it's really nicely done. I actually think this title, Legends and Lies, it's just really so good.
It is.
For describing this episode. So again, another episode I really, really enjoyed.
Absolutely.
And I was surprised. You got really invested in these two characters so quickly.
And I think that's what works so well. There's a conversation they have between one another around the campsite after the failure of another attack, where Achilles is kind of regretting drawing in so many warriors to him, behind him, and bringing them into battle, and them all losing their lives because they believe in the stuff that Achilles has been selling, and behind it all, even though you don't hear from Memnon until towards the end of the episode, behind it all, that's exactly what Memnon's doing. He's the one that's encouraging Achilles to continue his battle, encouraging everybody to continue fighting, because he has one solitary mission, which is to get this artifact back to Wakanda, and he will really do anything and say anything to get them to follow him, and it leads to the death of Achilles, So he's experiencing pretty much the same thing that Achilles is talking to him about. And his support is really just to support the Wakandan position. So he's been out of Wakanda for 9-10 years, I think. Now he says at the end, he's been out for such a long time, being involved in this crusade, or this battle between the Greeks and the Trojans. So he's so heavily involved in that and built his own life out of there, but has been hiding in plain sight with them.
That's it. It's, I think what I really like about this, it just brings that notion of the price to the individual, which is, Bakai, for that greater, larger concept, which is Wakanda, and preventing the outside world from knowing it's there and using its technology. It's that, the personal versus the impersonal, higher level kind of concept of this nation, this society, and how it takes that personal price on Bakai, when he's had time to reflect on actually what he's done, and in a sense how he made that friendship when he his job would dictate that he shouldn't do. So it's just really good.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I love the just that little touch of when Nani's trying to call out to him and he doesn't recognize his name because it's been so long since he used that name. You know, you can expect lots of undercover spies and lots of undercover people who've been in positions for a very long time might not be able to recognize anything of their past that they're fighting for. And interestingly, he makes the choice, or says he's going to make the choice, to go back out again because he doesn't recognize Wakanda as being his home anymore. He's still willing to defend it. He's still willing to do the job that he has been brought into the War Dogs for. But he doesn't feel that he can live within the society anymore. That's an interesting idea.
He's like, I feel alone here in Wakanda. The field is where I belong.
Yeah, and I feel that's something that from Nakia, the character in Black Panther that we know was a member of the War Dogs, that was something quite similar for her. She didn't feel like she was meant to stay in the city of Wakanda, that she needed to be out in the world as well. So a similar idea there.
Yeah.
But I do get the feeling from Bakai, though, I don't know whether he'll complete his next mission if he is sent back out too soon. I think that he's disillusioned with Wakanda a bit. So,
that's it. Like, because he has the necklace given to him by Achilles, you know, as a sign of their friendship, a sign of their trust, their brotherhood, which was a gift given to Achilles by his mother.
And always brought him luck, and then
for good luck. And of course, yes, as soon as he hands it to Memnon, it is Memnon who has the luck in that fight.
Yeah, true.
Because he's kind of thumbing that as he, you know, is sat in Wakanda reflecting after having spoken with Nani. And so you're right. You wonder whether, yes, he belongs in the field. Yes, he will be doing whatever the mission is. But in a sense, you know, is Nani going to give him maybe a easier, lower level mission, you know, to monitor and report back rather than something where, you know, he becomes too invested in the life that he has to create.
Well, exactly.
And so that is all just really, really good. So this was really good. You have that moment as well where Achilles defends Memnon, that he trusts him with his life. When suspicion is raised by one of the other Myrmidons, Pharaoh, and, you know, ultimately again, it fuels his anger when he sees Memnon sort of peeling away to go up to the palace. You have the moment where he does confront Helen of Troy, and there is Paris, and he allows them to escape.
But they just look so useless. You know, the battle of Troy is supposed to be fought over Helen. Paris is supposed to be another one of the fighters that's there. But yeah, they just look like, especially Paris looks completely useless. He's piling up his wad of cash to escape from this place and try and get out of there. He's not running out with a sword to get into battle or anything like it. So I really like that.
So, I mean, for me, ultimately, this kind of felt quite melancholy and sad in the end, and I thought it was really impactful because of that.
Yeah, me too. Any notes, anything else we haven't mentioned from the episode, John?
Just the fact I guess the Trojan horse in our conversation, which is Odysseus's Trojan horse. Yes. I kind of like that notion, just really good. I like the fact that, you know, Achilles and Memnon seem to suggest that Odysseus is full of tricks, is trying everything he can to try and breach the battlements of Troy, and in order to get to King Priam. Yeah. So I kind of like this, you know, and this is kind of one last roll of the die. Yeah. How do you get your enemy to effectively relax, in effect, which is pretend you've gone and give them a gift.
I do love the conversation between some of the guys who are sitting inside the horse going, what is it with Trojans and these horses? What is wrong with them? Why are they so obsessed with bloody horses? Quite a funny little conversation in there. One other thing I really like is just a very small touch, but I just like that Achilles is calling Memnon an old man because they've been together for 10 years. And if you lasted 10 years across multiple wars, you probably would feel like you're a really old man, even though they're probably early 30s.
In 1190 BC as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Great stuff. Overall then, John, do you defend this episode of Eyes of Wakanda?
I do defend this episode. For me, I'd give this 4.5 Trojan ponies out of 5. I just thought it was really affecting. I found it quite affecting, this sort of betrayal of a friend and brotherhood between Achilles and Memnon, and the impact it has on him, all for the greater good of Wakanda, which you get the sense is being questioned then by Bukai once he's back in Wakanda after that mission. You know, it's successful. Ultimately, it's successful. But it's left an aftertaste that is too much for Bukai, really. Yeah. It's made him view Wakanda relatively differently from before.
Yeah.
So I kind of really liked that idea.
I really like that, and I love that it's Noni, who we saw in the first episode, who's now the leader of the War Dogs. I love that it's her that has the conversation with him, because she's experienced the nth degree of somebody that became disillusioned with Wakanda and became a giant enemy. You know, she went out and battled against the Lion in the first episode, and now she has one of her War Dogs coming back to her going, is it all worth it? I feel disassociated with this Wakandan society, and she can have that moment to give him her ear and, you know, talk from experience, truly, you know. So I really like that choice. Really good episode, really well written, and yeah, one of my favorite eras in history with the Greeks. So
well, that's it. Like that. It's just having it in that time with that familiar story of, you know, the Trojan War and the Odyssey. Really good.
Exactly. Yeah. And now that the episodes are out, we have some feedback in from some of our wonderful fellow defenders. First up on episode 1 of Eyes of Wakanda, Coffee and Vodka says, greetings fellow seafaring defenders. I wasn't sure what to expect with this being a whole new concept, but wow, easily one of the best entries in the MCU, large or small screen, for quite some time. The animation and voice acting were top notch, making for a smooth and action-packed ride. Most importantly, all thoughts of its technical achievements were lost in the immersiveness of the story. Noni, our viewpoint in world building, was an excellent protagonist, as was her antagonist, the Lion. There was more than a bit of original trilogy Star Wars influence, most especially with the Lion's attempt to turn her to the dark side. The rest was all its own tale, and I'm looking forward to watching episode 2 once done putting words to screen. 5 War Dog East Dog Worlds, Fleets and Lion Eyes out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka. Very good, Coffee and Vodka. War Dog Eat Dog Worlds.
Yes, dog eat dog worlds.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Coffee and Vodka. Really agree with you how this kind of sets up this little mini-series from Marvel Animation just really nicely. And Noni's thread sort of threads its way through these series, and yeah, it's really good. Really enjoyed it.
Great start. I like the touch of the original series Star Wars influence. I like that. Yeah,
that's true. Actually, yeah, can see that the Lion and his dark side. But ultimately, who is good in this world, you know? Because the Jedi get more sketchy as you move through the Star Wars storytelling.
Yeah, they were never intended to be, I don't think, but they did eventually become very sketchy as other people came on board and expanded the story.
Well, exactly. I think when you expand it beyond its original concept, you realise it's not all just plain sailing.
Exactly.
As it were. But great stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Over on our Facebook group, we have some feedback as well for episode 1 from Bob Phillips, who says, I don't have the depth of lore or skilled appreciation of the art of animation to really understand this show, but I can say that as a casual viewer, I fell right into this origin story of the spy who freed me. Enslavement and its origins in power and arrogance come through very strongly, and will we be seeing the return of Noni Fury on later episodes? Great spot there. Yes, it is Noni Fury for sure. I'm surprised Derek didn't spot that one.
I know.
At the
really
end.
Weird, yeah. I guess with the eye patch, I should have guessed. Yeah, that's who she was. But we did see her appear a little older in this episode and episode 2. On to some episode 2 feedback from Coffee and Vodka, John.
Yeah, over on our email, Coffee and Vodka says, greetings, fellow besieging defenders. Another fantastic installment, this time dealing with long-term infiltration and even longer-term post-war psychological disorders. Memnon, Bacchae, and Achilles' friendship bordering on brotherhood felt real and added to yet another immersive episode, this one being more touching and relevant than the first. No mean feat for an animated feature. Speaking of no mean feats, this one offered up so many out of 5s it was hard to keep it to 3. Among the runner-ups were Troy Soldiers, Historical Heels, and Gift Horses. Again, looking forward to the next episode. 5 spent Trojans, Priam mature victories, and Achilles tendoncies out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and vodka.
Excellent coffee and vodka.
Very good coffee and vodka. I can see why Spent Trojans made the list.
Absolutely.
And not Troy Soldiers.
Yes, very good. But it is a really good episode, this one. I love the way that they deal with the post-traumatic stress of being undercover for 10 years. You know, that's a really interesting idea to deal with in such a short episode of an animated show as well, you know?
Yeah, no, completely agree. Coffee and vodka, it's such a really good story that, you know, thick and fast, really immersive in such a short space of time, and you really feel the pain between Memnon and Achilles, and then Bacchae back in Wakanda. So yeah, really top notch.
Exactly. Great stuff. Thanks for Coffee and Vodka. Back over on Facebook, we got feedback in from Dr. Bob Phillips again, who says, so Fury was just copying director Nani the whole time. I wonder if that Flurkin was once a pet of Nani, and seeing Nick at his office thought, I know what you really need to carry out this role. An eye patch. Great tale of patriotism and love clashing and the inevitability of failure whichever choice was made. Coogler isn't shy of adult concerns in this animated format, and it makes this a much deeper read than a story of classical era parkour invaders. So that's the guys climbing up outside the castle in Troy rather than going in through the door. Parkour up the walls instead, right?
Well, absolutely. I guess those blades were quite strong, given they were able to just go through stone like a knife through butter.
Absolutely.
I mean, unless Memnon brought in a whole load of vibranium blades that he could sort of pass around.
The hidden story behind it, John.
Really, I don't think any outsiders need vibranium because they've got quite strong steel as it goes, But that was my only quibble with that.
Maybe they're adamantium blades.
Maybe, I mean, even if they were going in between the grooves, you know, the edges and so on. But anyway, I still enjoyed this episode, so it didn't affect my enjoyment.
Exactly. Thanks, Dr. Bob, for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bob. Heather Wallace on Facebook always says, I didn't expect a retelling of the Trojan War that would make Achilles much more interesting than the tantrum-throwing brat sulking in his tent because his slave concubine prize was taken away from him type of Achilles. The fight between him and Memnon resulted in Achilles' tendon being sliced was visceral. Points to the team for including the Myrmidons. They rarely get a name check in screen versions, and Paris being a complete weasel made me laugh. The story of a warrior betraying a friend to get home and then feeling disconnected from the longed for home is so sad and definitely in the spirit of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Thanks so much, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Definitely. It really did sort of play and work nicely in with this classic story of the Odyssey, but also just bringing that into Wakanda really, really well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said during the podcast, I did love the idea of Paris being just this guy that wants to collect all his money and doesn't really care about anything else. So I think actually what they're aiming at there is, if he hadn't wasted all of his time gathering together all of his precious goods, they could have escaped without being confronted by the Wakandan spy here, right?
Memnon, yeah.
They could have gotten out without without any hassle at all if it hadn't been for Paris trying to gather together all his precious items to get out of there. Yeah. Great stuff, Heather. Thanks so much for all the feedback for this episode.
Yeah, thanks, Heather, and thanks to all the fellow defenders for their feedback on these first 2 episodes. Really great to get your thoughts on this really sort of neat and tight series. So I hope everyone is enjoying this show like we are.
Absolutely. You can email us with your thoughts on the series to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or as I mentioned earlier on, you can pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/tvpodcastindustries, where you can leave your thoughts on the spoiler posts for these 4 episodes of Eyes of Wakanda. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode.
Yes, thanks so much, fellow defenders. We will be back with episode 3 of Eyes of Wakanda. Really looking forward to this one. It's called Lost and Found.
We may have been spoiled about what's in that episode.
I think we may have been.
Yeah, we know you've all watched it as well. So, yeah, we're looking forward to talking about that one.
Definitely. But thanks so much, fellow defenders. Until episode 3, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep defending.
Bye.
Bye.